Okay, let me tell you why I love the Ibanez SRH500F. But first, let me give you a bit of a backstory. So I played this cheap old Washburn fretless acoustic bass for many, many years. And during those years, I went to music stores and tried to find one that I liked better, but never could find one. And the electronics were going on it, and were kind of screwed on it. So I decided after almost 30 years, someone has to have made a better bass than that. Well, not better, one that I like better. So the search was on. I looked at every single YouTube video I could find of fretless acoustic basses, read lots of articles, checked out sound samples, and this is what I came up with as the best sounding one. Sorry, the one I like the best. So I'm making this video to help other people who may be as confused as I am, or thinking about, making the same purchase. Now, one thing that made everything confusing is that a lot of people didn't have raw sound samples. They were playing with a drummer. They were playing through an amp. They had EQ or compression on the sound. I've got none of that. I'm not going to give you that many samples anyway, but I'm just going out of here into my MOTU 828, into my DAW, no amp simulation, no compressor, no limiter, no nothing. Okay. Another thing that was difficult for me is because I like nylon strings on my fretless basses, I couldn't find, except for one video on YouTube, I couldn't find one that had this bass with the nylon strings. So here you get to hear how this bass sounds with nylon strings. And when I do when I play, my voice is coming through this mic and you can hear it. But I'm going to mute this mic whenever I play. But that reminds me to tell you about what this bass is not. This bass is not the bass you buy to play along with your friends, in your house. Just because it's acoustic, don't think that anybody's really going to hear it. For example, get your coat and grab your hand, leave your worries on the doorstep. As opposed to a bass like this. Get your coat and grab your hand, leave your worries on the doorstep. This is the kind of bass you want if you're going to be jamming with friends at home, or with another acoustic guitar player. Even then, those basses aren't so loud, but this is not the bass for that. This is also not an upright bass or a replacement for an upright bass. If you've never played upright bass before, you don't have much experience listening to them, then this sounds like an upright bass. But in the scheme of things, we have like electric fretless bass over here, electric fretless bass, and let's say upright bass. This bass is here. The Washburn is here. The upright is here. Okay? Now, this will, however, simulate an acoustic bass. Not simulate it, it is an acoustic instrument. But for the small size of the chamber, it gives a pretty big, round acoustic sound, which you'll hear in a minute. And now, why I love this thing. Well, first of all, look at it. I mean, it's beautiful. It's got this sleek, modern shape, but, this F-hole, the wood tone burst to the dark outer edges. The dark outer edge matches matches the fretboard, the headstock, whereas the back is like just a natural mahogany. The tone and volume knobs are wood, or they feel like wood. Anyway, beautiful looking bass. It's light. The balance is pretty good. Acoustic instruments tend to do this, but I mean, as soon as you do this, the balance is really nice on it. And it's thicker than most electric basses, but still fits in most gig bags, and it comes with a gig bag. But the real magic behind this bass is how it's so forgiving as a fretless bass. If you've played fretless basses for a long time, you know that, you know, there's technique involved in getting that mwah sound. This bass, the technique you use to get a mwah sound, that mwah sound is, you know, you have to play a little bit soft with the pad of your finger, and you usually pick around the neck, even here, or but this bass you can play back here, almost back here. You can play with your fingertips almost and get a fretless bass sound, good fretless bass sound. It's the only bass I've ever tried like that. This bass you play back here, doesn't sound like fretless anymore. It sounds like just an acoustic bass, almost like a fretted bass. So, you know, let me give you some sound samples of that. I want to hear what you're hearing. Okay, so first of all, I don't want to do too many, you know, tone samples, but this is with the tone all the way up. So like a, and now you see what I mean by, even if I play with my fingertips, which you're not supposed to do, but still. And if I play back here, you still get it. Back here, not so much. Yeah, I mean, on that bass, you play back here and it doesn't sound like anything. So it's really forgiving. So if you have never played a fretless bass before, you're going to sound like a pro on this thing. So another thing is, from this note to this note, every single note on the whole fretboard and growls, you know. Part of the reason for that is the low action, and actually this thing came with such low action I had to raise it. It was crazy low. The strings were almost glued to the fretboard. I like to dig in a little bit when I play, and so I had to raise it up a little bit, but the action, and I had to, the neck was almost exactly straight. I had to put a little bow in it a little bit for my style anyway. Okay, so let me play a little bit of a blues, and I'll explore the neck a little bit, explore the room. Okay, so something like, oh, I don't like the tone up so much. I turn the tone almost all the way down, or just like a little bit up. So here we go. Here's just walking bass line. Screwed up the easiest part. So you can see right over the whole neck. Every single note just buzzes. It's really amazing. This bass is super easy to play. So easy to play. in almost too easy to play. Like, for example, because I haven't really warmed up, but let's take something like... I can't play that fast on my other basses. It's just insane how fast this thing is. And the good thing about, you know, being able to play over here and get that fretless bass sound, I mean, get that, you know, buzz, is that you can play kind of like intricate things. Playing over here, you know, the strings flop more, so it's more difficult to play fast. But back here, the strings don't move as much, which is why Jocko, you know, typically puts his hand back here when he plays really fast things. You can do that and still get nice buzz on this bass. So something like, okay, I'm probably gonna screw this up. So you get the idea. You can play really fast on this thing. I've been playing all jazz until now, so we can play something like play some funk, like this is Beastly, from what I remember of it. So, Joe Dart. Or, you know, some rock. Something like, let's see, something like a... So there you go. Just an amazing tone, easy to play, looks great, and it's under $1,000. Now, you might be wondering why these fret markers are nowhere near where I'm pressing. Well, it's because the real fret markers are on the top here. And this bass has been criticized. If you've watched any reviews on this, it's been criticized for having these dots here. Why they have them there, I have no idea. Maybe because people who normally play a fretted bass look at the fretboard and go, oh, there's the E fret, you know. But I want to, you know, push back against this criticism because you don't really see these inlays when you're playing at all. And what you do see is the top ones. And when you press on the fret, like where the dot is, so here's the A dot, I press right in the center of the A dot and I get an A. So if you've heard that criticism of this bass, don't worry about it, it's not going to bother you at all. When you get to the upper frets though, however, when things get a little bunched together, you know, I tend to follow the black lines, and if the room is dark, that can be a little bit tricky, but you get used to it. Anyway, you might be wondering why there's a price tag hanging off it. Well, the little demonstration about singing I did earlier made the difference between deciding this between this bass and this bass. So I originally bought this bass to sit with it for a little while, knowing I very well could sell it, or I was going to sell this one. I was going to sell one or the other. The reasons being, one, I live in Japan and it's really small space and I don't like to keep a whole lot of guitars and basses, and I already have too many. So I knew I was going to sell one or the other. Ideally, if I had more space, I'd keep both. I wouldn't play both that often though, but you know, I keep both. This is really fun to play. But this one has the bigger, bassier, more upright sound, and I like to practice singing and playing with no amp. And so it's really great for that. And it's also great when guitar player comes over, he plays acoustic guitar, I can play bass. So that's why this one wins out. I also found new electronics for it, and had the fretboard sanded down and everything. So I'm actually going to do a video comparing these two basses another time. But I am going to sell this bass, but not because there's anything at all wrong with it. There's nothing I have bad to say about this bass. The only reason, like I said, is because it's not loud enough to sing along with. If you're looking for an acoustic sounding bass and you like Ibanez, you don't even have to try this out. Just buy it. If you've already played an Ibanez and you like the sleek Ibanez neck, and you're looking for a bass with an upright sound, yeah, this is it, man. All right, thanks for watching, and look for my other video comparing these two monsters.